welcome back to my channel. I was just drinking some coffee. This is iced coffee. I gotta stop drinking like iced drinks because they don't digest very well. Okay, moving on. We're picking up with ethics. Let me get the first page so then that way you guys can follow along if you want to. Where the heck is the first page? Here we go. Code of Ethics. This is the second video. And we're going to pick up where we left off at principles. Right here. Okay, principle 1. Respect dignity and rights of others. In the last video, I rewrote some of the words here because, like, I know it's dumb and they're simple, but, like, when you get to the exam, you're going to be so fried and so confused, and you're going to see dignity and respect, and you're going to be like, oh my goodness gracious, I don't know the difference. Well, dignity is being honored. Think high society, high ranking. I always talk about being high society, being the upper class. That's dignity. And then respect is to be worthy or be looked at in a high regard. So, like, dignity is actually, in my opinion, dignity is actually, if we want to picture it, dignity for me is living in a Victorian home in Boston because it's really expensive to live there. And then respect is my high school friends who are still living in their hometowns that they were born in being like, wow, the poor doctor is living in a Victorian home in a really high rent district. Kudos to that. That's respect, okay? So, I don't know if I'm ever gonna move like to Boston, to be honest. Like, New York's pretty cool and it's rich there too, but moving on. Respect dignity and rights of all. Music therapists respect the dignity and rights of all people. This informs our relationships with clients, colleagues, students, research subjects, and all people we encounter. By acknowledging the worth of all people, this principle is to encourage music therapists to reflect sensitivity in all interactions. So we talked about respect. You're respecting somebody else. And I guess it's a good way to phrase it, sensitivity. I feel that you should regard the other person in a high regard. You know, even if they're the same position, even if they're lower than you or higher than you, you still treat them with respect. You still look at them as a high regard. Because if there's an issue and you come across in a defensive way, nobody's going to listen to you, and then the problem's not going to be solved. Wait, I'm sorry. I didn't even start the... Oh, yes, I did start the timer. Okay. So a music therapist will provide quality care regardless of clients' race, religion, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression, ethnic or national origin, disability, health status, socioeconomic status, marital status, or political affiliation. As a music therapist, like, you can't be biased. That's a pretty much good way to look. I mean, I talked about personal bias, but I guess to sum this up, you can't be, like, picky. Let's like phrase this paragraph that way. Can't be picky. Identify and recognize their personal biases, avoiding discrimination in relationship with clients, colleagues, and others in all settings. Okay, I'm going to explore this one a little bit more because there's a lot that goes into this. So, okay, actually, I showed you the dental assistant ethics. I showed you this ethics, but I actually recently finished a course on financial ethics. And financial ethics, they always talk about personal biases and overconfidence when investing. And in terms of music therapy, I mentioned this, I think, one time, how when I worked with children, so I was dating somebody, and he had a different view of what commitment looked like. So obviously, like, he viewed living together, being together for a long period of time as commitment, whereas me, well, my family is very traditional, so they all have had Armenian weddings, gotten married in an Armenian church, very, very traditional, not lived together until they were married type of thing. So the two of us had different views of commitment, and different views of family, like, when do you have kids? Obviously, I was like, after you're married, and he was like, oh, whenever, because we're in a committed relationship, okay? So because that was going on in my personal life, it was very difficult for me to work in a preschool and see children with siblings, and see mothers picking up their kids, fathers picking up their kids, both parents picking up their kids. And also, too, I do remember there was one time a nanny came and picked up somebody's kid, and that was sort of frowned upon. And so in both instances, like, I had personal biases towards working with kids, because when I worked with kids, I saw families, and it gave me a very, I don't know, it made me want to throw up, because it didn't look like I was going to be able to have a family with this person that I was dating at the time. While other people I worked with, they frowned upon the fact of a nanny. Their personal biases got in the way of the clients getting picked up by nannies. And it's very interesting and very funny. So that's what they mean by personal biases. So at that time, I worked with kids 3 times, okay? And every single time I felt this feeling. You got to remember that I was in my 20s, young 20s. Now it might be a little bit different if I worked with kids, because I'm in a different place. But that's a personal biases, and it did interfere with my place of work and training, because I trained with kids, and I worked with kids, and I did it 3 different facilities with kids. Okay, so you want to recognize that, right, and avoid discrimination. So I recognize the fact that I felt these feelings and how it affected me at work, and I got good feedback, so I did really well at processing this information personally. But just moving forward, I knew it wasn't really right for me the 3rd and final time. Again, I'll try it again though. So next one, 1.3, respect, acknowledge, and protect the rights of all clients, including the right to safety, treatment, respect, dignity, and self-determination, as well as the rights to choose a provider, to exercise legal and civil rights, and to participate in treatment decisions. I worked at a facility, this is horrible, but I worked at a facility where they didn't care about protecting the clients, and they didn't care about the client's rights. And what I mean by that is, like, the clients would often say they wanted music therapy and they wanted recreation therapy. Those are like the 2 that they really wanted. And the higher ups would say they need to do a work unit. They don't need therapy. And it was hard because the clients were mentally capable of making their own decision. They just weren't capable of living on their own, you know? But it was annoying because, like, the clients weren't able to get their way. And then also protecting clients in the same exact facility, the clients still had therapy sessions, even though it was putting the clients at danger during COVID-19, like in-person therapy sessions. So you really do need to acknowledge and protect the rights of clients. I was not working at that facility for that long, of course, but if I was there during COVID, I would totally speak up. Like, this isn't fair to my clients. I'm putting them at risk. I'm putting myself at risk. But me, not necessarily important because I'm young and my clients have compromised immune systems. So I'm not doing it. you know? And it's a risk to the client. That's why I'm not doing it. You can't really say that you don't want to do something at work, but with COVID, it was one of those few times you could refuse. And in that moment, I would have refused, but I wasn't working there at that time, so. Moving forward, respect the client's right to ownership to creative products as a result of participation in music therapy. Yeah, if they write their own song, it's their song. You can't go share it to other people. People have done that. I think people have sold, I heard somebody like sold a client's song. Obtain informed consent from the client or legal guardian in cases in which the client is unable to provide consent. Yeah, so that's kind of same as the do not resuscitate type. You want to get you want to get guardian consent, especially if they're going on a trip or they're going on an outing to see a concert or a movie or participating in music therapy, you know. Protect the rights of the client, students, and research participants under policies, laws, and regulations. Music therapists will ensure students, researchers, volunteers, and employees abide by privacy laws and exceptions. When I had we all know my horrible supervisor, and when I had my intern, she always wanted to know, like, what was up personally. Like, I remember she asked me, like, what diet my intern student was on. And I was like, what does that have to do with anything? I think I said that's not my news to share. That's what I said. And of course the intern was just like, oh, I eat vegan or whatever the case may be. But like, that's not, what if my student was celiac and, like, was embarrassed about it because it was a new diagnosis? Like, it's not right to ask what if my client, like, had ADHD and was on a special diet and was hesitant to share that? You know what I'm saying? So, like, it's just don't, like, if it's not, they always say, like, if it's not important, you shouldn't be sharing it with these people. If it's not important to the learning of an internship, then you shouldn't even be asking. Acquire knowledge and information. This is 1.8. Acquire knowledge and information about specific cultural groups with whom they work with, seeking supervision and education as needed. Yeah, so certain cultural groups don't participate in music therapy well, or don't necessarily know how to participate in music therapy. Other cultural groups know, but they have their own definition. If anybody wants a visual, you could go check out the Grey's Anatomy episode when there's a holistic healer and they have their own perception of holistic healing. It's a very interesting episode. I don't know what it's called. 1.9. Avoid entering into a dual relationship. When doing so would violate professional boundaries or clinical objectivity. Talking about Grey's Anatomy, how many times have they entered into a dual relationship? I think it's important, well, I know it happens, I know, but I think it's important to recognize, like, what you want in a relationship and who you want to be a significant other, and then don't, like, just go for somebody because they're there and it's convenient. Please, I've done that in high school, okay? Like, I went with people because they were there, and they ended up being wonderful people. But the point that I'm trying to make is that you do, like, they don't talk about this, but, like, because on Grey's Anatomy, obviously, the main character is romantically involved with one of her colleagues who's higher up on the totem pole than she is. And it's like, you really can't be doing that. You could actually, as an intern, you could get fired. As a doctor in that situation, you could get fired. As a music therapist, you could get fired. As a client, you could get kicked out. Like, they do not take that stuff seriously. Like, they do not take that stuff lightly. And believe me, if I'm on the board, I am certainly not taking that stuff lightly. Like, you will get fired. I don't care, because you're not providing the best treatment for the client at that point. 1.10, avoid accepting gifts or other considerations that could influence or give an appearance of influence, personal judgment. Okay, I, believe it or not, people, I do not show favorites because I'm a tough cookie. You can ask anybody. I do not show favorites. I do not have favorites. Everybody, all of my students, all of my clients are special in their own special in their own way. Some clients are a lot easier to work with to some degree. Clients, not students. Clients. Some clients are a lot easier to work with than others. Some students pick up information faster than others, but I don't judge. Like, I'm here to bring music to you for a therapeutic goal. If we're talking about clients, I'm here to bring music to you from an educational goal. If we're talking about students, that's my job, and that's it. But people don't feel that way, especially my high school music teachers. Maybe if I gave them gifts, they would have favored me, but I ain't sucking up to them. They were jerks. So when it comes to avoiding gifts, I think they say usually you can run it by your supervisor or your department head. That's what they used to do at my internship. If we got a gift from a client, they would run it by the department head, and she would say yes or no. If it was an expensive gift, a pair of shoes, that's inappropriate to accept. But if the client drew a picture of them and the music therapist in a session, she would usually say that was fine because it was creativity. Maybe they created this, usually actually they created this project in an art therapy class. So that would be appropriate because again, it goes with the goal. But just check in, and definitely check in with people at your facility because you could think that accepting a picture is appropriate, and then maybe at that facility it's not. Avoid engaging in sexual and romantic relationships with clients, their family members, caregivers, students, trainees, research participants, or other employees. I think it's fine to date another employee. That happens a lot, and some people get married who work at the same facility. That's fine, I think. I don't see what the problem with that is. But anything else, dating a client, dating a family member of a client, dating a caregiver, dating a student, Grey's Anatomy, dating research participants. Listen, friend, if I'm on the hospital board, I have no tolerance for this shit. I'm just saying. Work collaborative with peers using open, direct communication to resolve difference of opinion or recognize their other perceptions. Yeah, so you want to work collaboratively with open communication. Some peers are going to be better at this than others. Ladies, you all know who I'm talking about. And I say ladies because there was one lady I did not like working with, and there were two ladies that I really liked working with. So the three of you, shout out, you know who you are. Respect the professional services offered by colleagues in music therapy and other disciplines, and endeavor to communicate openly when a change in provider occurs or is pending. Yeah, you definitely want to know the stuff like that, and you want to communicate in person and in writing because some people understand information orally, and some people understand information visually, and you don't necessarily know this about fellow colleagues or family members of patients, so you want to make sure that you convey the message in both fashions. So then that way, it's not on you if they didn't understand it. Principle number 2, act with compassion. As music therapists, we are often confronted with much suffering and feel the need to assist in the alleviation of discomfort. Yeah. By manifesting patience, wisdom, and genuine desire to meet the needs of our clients, we offer compassion to those we serve. In addition, it is important for music therapists to extend compassion to themselves when confronting their own human limitations. It's really important to... So, Now, with social media, a lot of times we look for others for feedback and a pat on the back. You know, think about it. People like want a lot of likes, a lot of followers, a lot of subscribers here on YouTube. And yeah, a lot of subscribers will help me make money from YouTube videos, sure. But the thing is that, like, I shouldn't rely on other subscribers to make me feel like I'm doing my job. And that's the same thing with music therapy. You shouldn't wait on employees or clients or family members or the higher ups to pat you on the back. You need to know that each and every day you go to plan a music therapy session, each and every day you wake up and go to work, each and every day you see a client, regardless of what their reaction is, you are making a difference, and you do need to exploit that. I have up on my board, because I have like a calendar, and then I write down, because I don't like getting up early, so I write down, you know, got up early today, yeah. You know, and like, you need to do that for yourself, you know. Plan 5 music therapy sessions today. Practice for Friday session on Tuesday. Like, great job, poor doctor, great job, Nancy, wonderful work, Joe. Like, you know what I'm saying? You need to give yourself those feedbacks and those reminders, because you are in charge of your happiness, not somebody else, because we don't know how other people are going to react. So in this principle, music therapists will act with the best interest of the client at all times, actively listen to clients, and affirm and validate their expressions. Yes, I do this actually not just to clients. I do this with people in regular life too. Like, one time somebody told me that they broke up with their girlfriend over the phone, and they were very, very upset about it. And I validated it. I said, listen, in that moment, you thought that that was a good decision. That's how you felt, and that's what you did. And that is fine. There is nothing wrong with that, because that's how you felt at that time. Moving forward, though, this is what we need to do. Okay, there you go. Be aware and accepting of clients' individual factors and cultural differences in the treatment process. Yeah, cultural differences play a larger part than you think. Empower clients to make desired changes in their life. Yeah, so I think I talked about this when one of my clients was trying to quit smoking and was having a really difficult time. And when I saw this client in one situation, they were talking about how difficult it was to quit smoking, and like, you know, and I don't know, I've been doing it for so long and it relaxes me and all this stuff. And like, and I said, you know, oh, what are some other ways that relax you similarly? You know, drinking coffee relax you? In this situation, it did. And then, well, why don't we drink coffee? Because, you know, coffee is better than, and I understand coffee is not really great for your heart, but this guy was drinking decaf coffee. So, you know, coffee is better for you than smoking. We want you to be here for a long time. That's the whole point, you know? And that's why it's really important for you to make this decision. You don't have to make it today, but think about it. Act with compassion and genuine interest when dealing with peers. Again, I think that that's kind of in our character. Seek peer and professional supervision to assist with reflection and practice improvement. So yeah, you do want to go to your clinical supervisor. In practicum and internship, it's much easier to seek feedback, appropriate feedback. At work, if your supervisor is not a music therapist, it's very difficult to get feedback and practice improvement. So that's why I recommend reaching out to your colleagues, reaching out. We have a lot of music therapists on Facebook on that group. You can always reach out to me. You guys know my email. I think you can message me on TikTok also, and it's just down below. But yeah, I'm here to help. I like doing the administrative component. That's why I'm getting my MBA. Practice self-kindness and mindfulness, and extend compassion to self if faced with feelings of inadequacy or failure. This is a good topic to end this video on. Let's see. Failure in music therapy. I'm trying to think because, of course, I blocked it out of my mind. I would say, you know what was a big failure? This is a real tea time story, but I'm going to kind of try to keep it short for the sake of the video. Okay, so one time I did a music therapy session, and it was a practice music therapy session for class for this professor who absolutely hated me, and I'm not too fond of her, and I don't really care. She can know about it because she's retired, so she doesn't do anything in regards to my career anymore. Anyway, but yeah, this class, I don't know what her deal was. I must have reminded her of somebody, because she always like had an attitude towards me, and she never really liked me, and she used to fake liking me in front of my parents. It was so annoying. But anyway, I did a session, and it was an older adult session, and by older adult I mean it was geared towards adults 65 and older. And at the time I didn't know anything about adults 65 and older. My parents weren't even 65 at that point. I don't even think they're 65 now, now that I think about it. But so I didn't know. I've never experienced anybody who was 65, at least not that I thought, right? So then I did this whole patriotic session, and it took place in November. Oh my gosh, I don't know if it was like, I don't know if it was good or bad. It probably wasn't appropriate. Let's just put it that way, because I never worked with clients who were 65 before. And I just kind of harped on a couple of like interventions. You know, maybe I did like 3 interventions, but I only used like 2 songs. And again, it was a patriotic theme, and it was I went about it a very didactic approach. Again, which probably wasn't appropriate considering the goal was medical approach. But again, like I said, I never worked with older adults before. Anyway, I was done the session, and my professor flipped out. Like, she flipped out in front of me, in front of the whole entire class too. It's not like, she wasn't like, okay, like, as a professor, she should have been like, okay, Megan, thank you, you know, next person, or whatever the case may be. Then after class, she should have been like, hey, Megan, or even emailed me, hey, Megan, can we talk? And then she could have voiced her opinion, okay? But no, this woman, this dried up piece of raisin, literally freaked out in front of the whole entire class, telling me that I was so disrespectful and that my session was extremely inappropriate. And then she called me out. Have you even like been around individuals 65 and older? She asked me that, and I said no, because I haven't. And she's like, well, I'm 65. And I was like, okay. And then she said, do you think I'm old? Do you think that this session would benefit me? And then I said, no, because you don't have a disability, right? Because that was the whole point of the session. And she was like, you know what, Megan, and this is what she said in front of the whole class. You know what, Megan, I am so fed up with you acting like you know everything about everything. Like, you don't know. You're acting like 65 is old. Well, to a 19-year-old, 65 is pretty darn old. Am I right? You know? Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is that she flipped out. And I understand that, like, maybe it was my fault. Maybe the session wasn't that great. But you have to remember, too, that I don't know anything. At that point, I took 1 music therapy course, and I had a practicum in didactic. And I had no experience working with people 65 and older. Heck, I didn't even know she was 65. You know what I'm saying? So that was definitely a failure incident. And for an individual with all these letters after her name to call me out on something, like, and she clearly took it personally because she mentioned her age and all that stuff. So the point that I'm trying to make is that after that session, I went for a walk and debriefed and kind of thought about other things. And then I patted myself on the back because I did go up there and did a music therapy session, and I read about it. I talked about this before, how I read about my music therapy experiences, sessions, because I didn't have a cell phone. So I wasn't able to go to the library and watch YouTube because YouTube was blocked. Yeah, so I patted myself on the back because I did the best that I possibly could with the resources that I had. And moral of the story, let's talk about it. I did work with clients with acquired brain injury who were 65, actually 3 months ago. And guess what session and music they wanted? Patriotic music all day, every day. So I guess I wasn't that off in the long run. And then anyway, I ended up talking to my professor, and I was very professional, and I showed her in the books that I was reading that it stated that 65 and older individuals really enjoy patriotic music. This is where I saw it written. Of course, she turned around, oh, have you seen any videos with people playing patriotic music? And I'm like, no, I don't have a smartphone. I'm not rich. But I read about it, and I think that reading about it from a music therapy book that's actually advertised in several places on the AMTA website is more beneficial than watching something on YouTube, which in reality it is, to some degree, especially if you're doing like a research project. So that's the story. That's what I did when I was feeling insecure and sad and questioning my profession. But don't let anybody do that to you. That's the whole point of this channel. You are important. As music therapists, you will be a wonderful asset to society, and it's important to exploit that regardless of what issues you have or what drama comes your way. So tune in next time. We're going to talk about accountability right here. Okay, talk to you guys later. Bye!